Canvassing of votes to begin tomorrow. An official tally, though, has shown that Marcos Jr. is a clear winner here. It's been 2 weeks, and we have yet to get clarity on who will form his economic team, despite Marcos saying after that victory is so, in a way, clear, according to an official tally. He said that forming his economic team will be a priority here, but we have yet to get clarity on that one. Is that adding anxiety and uncertainty here?
Yes, I think this was the main criticism, even during the campaign period, that there was a lot of uncertainty and unsureness about what Marcos Jr.'s economic platform would be. Even now that he's the presumptive president already by the margin of votes, I think his spokesperson also gave an interview saying that they're not even at the point yet that they've made clear economic plans. And again, he's going to inherit a very sensitive economic situation. We have mounting debt that stems from the pandemic. Our growth is recovering slowly, but we're still experiencing the base effect. So we're only going back to the point where we were before the pandemic. So it's not yet in a stage where we're confident that we can continue to sustain this growth. And at the same time, we're experiencing growing inflation concerns. So there's a balancing act that needs to be done when it comes to containing that inflation, but at the same time, you also want to sort of pursue expansionary policy to continue to stimulate the economy. So there has to be a very strategic economic platform up ahead. And if Marcos Jr. still does not provide clear platforms or at least appoint very competent and sure cabinet members for the economic team, then I think everyone, investors, consumers, and even think tanks like us, for example, we feel very unsure and uncertain about the economy ahead.
Okay. AJ, what is your realistic expectation here in what's going to be happening, at least for 2022 or the first 100 days of office? I mean, is there any way that he can already arrest the inflation that is seen to be even above 5% for some economists here? And will this, result into us not necessarily growing? As you mentioned, we're just trying to grow out of the debt.
Yeah, so the Bangko Sentral has already signaled that they're probably positioning themselves to have higher rate hikes again. They're going to continue to push for higher interest rates, and that's going to hopefully rein in some of the inflation that will slow down consumer spending, for example. But again, there's a balancing act there. There's a trade-off there, because usually when you do that, you're trying to prevent an overheating economy. But right now, we also want to push for higher spending, right? We want to push for post-COVID recovery. But so there's a trade-off there when you want to rein in inflation, but at the same time, you want to push economic growth. If you're asking me, for example, what I think could happen, honestly, it could go either way, right? We could have Marcos appointing a very good cabinet and a very good economic team, and there's the possibility that they can rein in the inflation and at the same time strengthen the economy. But there's also the possibility that that's uncertain, that's unclear. So right now, there's no definitive answer. I honestly don't know which way it would swing. But all I can say is it's a very challenging position to be in. I don't envy his position, but I think at this point, it's a very strategic yung magiging role or yung magiging stance ng president and ng cabinet in as regards the economic and fiscal policy.
AJ, now you were saying more or less that they should be continuing most of the Duterte reforms, diba? To be able to have some continuity here. But at the same time, during the Duterte administration, particularly during the pandemic, it was the Bangko Sentral that was doing the heavy lifting to arrest inflation and again to accommodate na naman and to cut down on the interest rates. And then now we're back to this hiking stance. To what extent does that need to change, and to what extent should the fiscal side be the one to actually start doing some measures because these are all supply side issues that are pushing. It's not, or unless you say that this is demand driven already.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That actually our inflation right now is heavily supply side influence. It's coming really from the global shortages of fuel. It's impacting our electricity costs, right? So I think monetary policy will really have a limited impact on this. But at the very least, they can rein in inflation expectations. We know that expectations also have a role to play. If consumers or if investors see that inflation is mounting, that it's continuing to go up, then that could raise inflation further in the future. So at the very least, if the BSP will raise interest rates and they show that they're aggressive in reining in that inflation, it could at the very least curb the expectations that we have. But in terms of mitigating the effects of the supply side inflation pushes, that's where I think the government and fiscal policy can step in. That's where taxation can step in. That's where government subsidies can step in, for example. So again, it really depends on how competent Marcos's economic team is. I can't honestly give you an assessment right now because I don't have any inside information of who those could possibly be.